And let's go. Hello, everybody. It is your boy KGH Live, aka Tighten Up Your Pussy, aka your defending YarskCap champion. I am here with my co-host Jacob Biltino. How are we doing, man?
Doing very well. Getting ready for this. I have some notes and everything, so I'm all pumped up. And I mean, no further introduction than the kid in the helmet.
Woo! I know. We got our first time participant in the YarskCap, rocking the mountains are blue, the Coors Light division. Cheers, everybody. Oh, yeah. Drinking a now he's got to work around the helmet. Mr. Schultes, a.k.a. Schultz Hitties, a.k.a. Wilson's Milford. How we doing, baby?
Glad I could join, fellas. Glad I could join.
Oh, my God. So first you got to showcase that beautiful helmet that you have on. Like, look at that beautiful Jack Daniels Tennessee Honey helmet.
Is that yours? Or
sadly, it's not hers. Go ahead, Bill.
No, this is Nibs. He won it in a golf tournament.
Okay.
Don't ask me why they hand out football helmets at a golf tournament.
Dude, it's shut. It's legit.
Oh yeah.
Are you guys getting?
I mean, I respect that about golf. They still know how to move the needle when it comes to all that stuff. Like, oh, what can we give someone as a prize for a golf outing? Give them a badass Jack Daniels NFL football helmet. It's like, oh, you know what the people want. I respect that. But with that in mind, Schultes first, I mean, proud to finally have you on. Just give me your general thoughts on your team. And also, if you want to touch base, you were part of the winning golf team outing and you had the absolute kick-ass hole 4. Just kind of give us the lay of your land of how the season's gone for you and what your thoughts were of draft day and the golf outing, my man.
Sure. So team's going well, obviously undefeated. Got a nasty matchup this week with Curb, 2 undefeated teams.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I'm glad you're on. That's gonna be a battle for the ages.
It will, and I would even love to say that we're probably the dynasty best 2 teams as well, with 2 championships apiece. So coming.
Yep,
I don't know if this is starting to be a rivalry, but I love it. Yeah, so team's doing well. We'll see how this week goes. Golf outing. I love to hear the power rankings after the first week and not coming in last. So 8 is a solid.
Ooh, there could be an update on those power rankings tonight as well. Ross played really well tonight. I know we're not going to spoil anything, but Ross played well tonight. Kyler made that comment.
Oh, dang.
Foreshadowing.
It's good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, I mean, when I look back at your draft, like the thing that I loved about your team was I thought you had the #1 player potentially at 3 positions, at tight end with Kelsey, running back at McCaffrey, and quarterback at Josh Allen. So if you're average at all the other positions.
I'm always amazed at how Schultes drafts and just like out of nowhere, you're like, holy shit, he has all these really good players on his team. And just ho-hum, because you don't really talk shit at the draft or anything. You just kind of go about your business.
No, I let my team do the talking. Let my team do the talking.
I respect that. And I remember, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, I think it was maybe 2 years ago where you had Christian McCaffrey, and Zach and I would always say, God, if McCaffrey comes back, Schultes is the best team in the whole league. And luckily for everyone else, he didn't come back. But yeah, your team is always super strong. But just generally, how do you kind of approach like the fantasy stuff week to week? Are you more of just like, you check it once or twice a week and never look for trades, or how do you usually go about it, my man?
Well, yeah, I think last year I came in with a whopping 0 trades. So if that be part of my strategy, if you draft well, I don't think you need to trade unless you're like Curb and you just snipe a good one from Jared. But was that Mark Andrews? I playing Mark Andrews this week. Yeah.
Yep, you're playing Mark Andrews this week.
Maybe I need to send Jared some more trades, but other than that, I don't think there's much need for it if you draft well.
So that's what I was going to ask, because like obviously when you go through the trades and everything, I'm like, okay, like Josh doesn't trade because he doesn't pay attention. He doesn't pick anybody up off the waiver wire. So I'm like, I'm not going to offer him a trade. Then it's like I get to your team, and I was like, I don't know if Schultes would trade or not. Like, if it's a fair trade, you probably would, but like, are you open to trades or not open to trades?
Oh, no, yeah, I am for sure. This year, most years I have a pretty hot start. Like all my starters are pretty good and weak bench. This year I actually have one or two players on the bench that aren't too bad. So actually rotated a couple of them in. Plagued by a couple injuries last week though, so got cut short. But looking forward, we're pretty deep on this side.
I know. I looked at your team and I thought your weakest position was wide receiver, but you legitimately have 4 guys, which I love, and you only need 2, maybe 3 of them to start on a week-to-week basis between DK, who's a good upside guy, Amon-Ra, when he's healthy, he's a stud, Michael Thomas, Gabe Davis. I mean, 4 guys. You only need 2 of them to go off for you. So I intentionally look at your team for potential trades, but I think you are one of my top 2 competitors, and so I don't want to give you a fair deal. So I'm just like, I could send him that deal, but it might make his team better, and I can't risk that. So that's the reason you're not getting much shit from me.
Open to those, Curb. Open to those. Yeah, so I have 4 pretty solid receivers. So if somebody needs like a third receiver or something, definitely open to trades.
Yeah, and that's
look at him using the platform.
We highlight.
That's marketing right there.
That he has. We highlighted that he has all these good guys. Am I freezing? Oh,
You're
no.
good.
What's going on? Too much shit going on at the once here?
You're good.
All right. Yeah, but we highlighted you have all those top guys, and then out of nowhere, it's like, oh, JLS has 4 middle of the road wide receivers that are all averaging 12 or projected 12 points a game, which obviously projections don't mean shit at the end of the day, but it's one of those deals where on an average, water's gonna find its level, and those guys are gonna get their points eventually. So yeah.
The toughest thing with that is who do you play each week?
Yeah, that's why Kirby and I have said that, where it's like, I almost want to trade this guy off my team just for the fact that I don't have to think about playing him.
Right.
Kind of like Rashad Penny sitting on my bench right now. He went off last week, but he's only.
I was going to ask Schultes. You mentioned me as like potentially like a quote unquote rival, but let's just say we remove me from the equation. Who is someone that you play that if you beat him, it feels a little bit sweeter than it does other people? Is there a certain person in particular? It's like, ooh, that's the guy that when we beat him, it feels a little bit better. Do you have anyone in that in the league?
No, I don't. Well, Sap's fun to beat every time, but so I didn't know that we held the stats through our previous years, and I just found that this week. And
yep.
So it has your hardest opponent and your easiest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Surprisingly,
my stat behind that is mind blowing, and it kind of scares me. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, that's cool.
So Biggs was apparently my hardest opponent, and who gives a shit about him anymore? So apparently I don't have a hard opponent anymore. So I'm looking for one. His opponent was Pooty. So looking forward to him again this year.
Well, I was disappointed I looked at my team history. So on average, I think I have my easiest opponent that I'm 7-1 against is Jared. I'm 7-1 against him. My least opponent I'm the worst against is the person that doesn't have a win this year, Josh Axton. I'm 1-6 history against Josh. So hopeful to remedy that this year, because I can't have that kind of shitty ass record stay that bad for too long.
Yeah, Josh.
But I don't know. Go ahead.
Josh had some good teams in the past. I don't know about this year, but.
Yeah, Bill, I was looking into it, and Josh is 0-4, and his next 3 opponents are me, Schultes, and Shane, the 3 highest scoring teams.
So I'm in a group chat with Sap and Josh are both in it. It's for Dolphins night and stuff. And Sap has been tagging Josh in there's a tweet. It's if your fantasy team is 0-4, this is how you feel. And every week, from 0-2 to 0-3, 0-4, Sap just tags Axman in every week. So, yeah. And then I looked at it and I said, oof, Josh, you might not get one for a while here. Because, yeah, that's a tough schedule coming up. Kyler's team at least has some life. But, yeah, Josh is, shockingly, he has enough running back depth. Because, I went and looked. I'm like, oh, shit, he does actually have some other running backs. But, yeah, it's tough. when you
We
go
were
the,
actually in some trade talks earlier this week that if I didn't pull the trigger on Najee, that I think me and Josh might have gotten the deal done. So
okay.
shout out to Roscoe. If Ross didn't send that message in the group chat that he was offended he didn't get an offer from me, so like, oh, screw it, I'll just send this. And
Well,
he
you know,
clicked accept. I'm like, okay.
I don't want to throw Jared under the bus too much here, but like Josh went the Jared route of he drafted a lot of Broncos, and then like Brees Hall's been playing well, but Josh is like, ooh, Iowa State guy, I want him on my team. So, you know, he went Bronco and Iowa State heavy, not paying off
Not a
so
good strategy.
No, I mean, I actually thought the Broncos offense would have some life this year. Boy, is it dead though. I mean, and then the 1 week he doesn't start Russell Wilson, he scores 26 points, and Tua doesn't. I think Big Cat said today he couldn't eat apple straws through a straw right now. So
Beautiful. Well, hey, I mean, Schultes, one last question, or not even really a question. Do you have anything that you want to like send out to the group, or any questions that you got for Bill, Tino, and I before we kind of touch on last week's and this week's matchups in the power rankings?
Nope. Go ahead.
Beautiful. Well, shoot, last week's matchup, Bill, I'd feel remiss if we didn't at least start with your freaking slobber knocker of a fucking matchup. I mean, how in the world did you score 145 points and lose?
146. Yep, it was tough. You know, you always hate.
How in the world did that feel?
It, especially against Sap. So that was one thing I had written down. So obviously 175. And last year we were in the Yarski. So last year I scored 154 against him and won in the Yarski. And so that's why he is Sacco. But the other games we had were absolute rock fights. 107 to 88 and 101 to 107. So, I mean, it was a weird feeling that Sap and I are both right, like projected. I mean, all day the projections just kept going up and up. Like every time I looked, it was like, oh, like 139, 137. And then Clyde Edwards-Hilaire obviously decided to go off, and that's when I knew it was over. But yeah, hats off to Sap. You know,
Tyreek, baby. I was not touching him with a 10-foot pole, and he's been balling.
Yeah.
I know. And one of those I think I've looked into earlier today, and I think there's a consistent the three most consistent teams, which is surprising, I guess, especially in the terms of Sacco, is me, Schultes, and Sacco, I think have all been in the top 4 scoring every single week through the first 4 weeks. And so
Sap's leading the lead in scoring right now.
Yes. And he's like consistently doing it. It's just not a 1 week blow up. And me and Schultes are both up there as well. And Schultes' big studs and all that stuff, it's not a big surprise. And Sap's team, he's just getting the good results from his running backs like Montgomery when he's healthy, Jamal Williams when he's in the spot start, and Clyde Edwards-Hilaire has been a huge hit for him.
In a sneaky good trade there when they did the handcuff trade. That was sneaky good. I don't know why Josh didn't pick Khalil Herbert up, but you know, that's beyond all of us. The guy's busy. Got another kid on the way, so it's tough to check your fantasy for 10 minutes every day.
Oh well, you can only do so much. But outside of that, I did have to ask Schultes, did you watch it all the Monday night game, and were you worried that first or that second possession when Joel got that big touchdown?
So I didn't see but I watched the rest of the game, and I mean, anytime Kupp is on the field, you are just nervous.
Oh my God.
I think he had 5 catches, and I'm like, luckily I have their kicker and it ended in a field goal, so it washed out. But if there's 3 more of those drives, my butthole would have been puckered for sure.
Well, it was funny too.
I mean, go ahead.
I watched the Manning cast, and they had Steph Curry on. It was like the third quarter. And they're like, oh, Steph, like, what do you think they should do on this play? He goes, I think I'd throw it to number 10. Where's he at on the field? And, like, literally, that's all they did. And he looks like a genius because it's like, oh, yeah, like, throw it to Kupp every single time. And that's what they do. And Allen Robinson, boy, I don't know whose team he's on, but is it Josh?
Yeah, Josh. And he's one guy before the season. Like, I actually liked Josh's team a little bit because I was a fan of the Broncos offense and Allen Robinson, but holy shit, they have really disappointed. And I looked it up. Cooper Kupp, he had 19 targets last week with 14 receptions and still got almost 20 points without a touchdown. So he's just a whole nother level when it comes to that. That's for damn sure.
And it's funny because I did not to get into gambling, but I did like a futures bet on Amon-Ra St. Brown to like lead the league in receptions, which is obviously dead now. But like I went to look at stats like the week before St. Brown was out, and like Cup led the league in receptions by 10 already through 3 weeks. And it's like, holy shit, he's unstoppable. I don't know how he does it, but I mean, he's a great guy to have on Joel's team, that's for sure.
Yeah, you always look for those storms that make you lose. And San Fran went up, and Joel has their running back who scored.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to run the ball more, and then LA is going to throw the ball more, which he has their receiver. So I'm like,
yeah, that was a bad game script for you, that's for sure.
Could be bad. Luckily, it was up enough going into the end. But yeah.
Yep, for sure. So with that in mind, I figured we might as well touch base on a couple matchups. Obviously, I think we'll end with me and Schultes just because we're both here and matchup of the undefeateds. But
so hold on.
Other matchup I want to touch base. Or go ahead, Schultes.
One last thing
from
last week.
One second here. I want to touch on last week quick. How about Pooty and Ross's matchup?
Was that the opposite of the barn burner?
No, that was just.
Oh God, we're gonna end up touching on all the matchups. Good point. Okay.
Yeah, we should touch on the rock fight too. Jared and Josh going 75-66 is an all-timer.
So that one was funny because Bill, in your game, you guys are going off like 140 at 160, and then on the other side, I'd swipe and just see like 68-68 projections in another barn burner. Complete opposite point wise.
Yeah, so like this week or last week, let's see if they give me the box score here. Quick.
I have it up right here. I'll just share my screen if you want me to show it up, just so everybody could see how ugly this was.
Well, I know, but like you take my matchup and Sap's matchup. Sap and
Am I sharing the right screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. Yep.
Okay.
Sap and I could have each started 3 guys and beat Josh. I mean, not to be mean, but I mean, it's like Hawkinson had 35, and then Jamal Williams had 23 for Sap. So Sap's already up to 58 right there. And then he could have started his defense and got himself, or his kicker got 14. So Sap could have started a tight end, a flex, and a kicker and won. So, yeah, what a rock fight. I mean, Tua obviously got hurt, which killed Josh. But Derrick Henry had a good game.
Derrick Henry's been good. I gave him crap for taking him over Eckler, but they both been pretty solid this year. But Allen Robinson, that's just been the biggest bust, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive by Josh's team, though. I mean, it's like, Derrick Henry and Debo combined for 42.9, and then everybody else. Well, Prater did well. Yeah, Prater was
a kicker. Who cares?
Leading scorer.
Yeah, and then Jared, I don't think he had a single guy that get in the end zone. Ertz was the only guy that got in the end zone, so he still performed pretty well, all things considered, and Mahomes did his thing.
Yeah.
But outside of that, all you got to do is beat your opponent, and that's what I love about this.
Exactly, yeah.
The other one I know, Bill Tino, you wanted to touch base on was the matchup between Pooty and Ross, so go ahead and take it away.
Well, yeah, I mean, and Pooty doesn't really text a lot in there, but I know he's sitting at home watching because usually he'll send me a couple random side texts. And especially when we play each other, because we always seem to have like really close matchups. And he's always like, I'd rather be getting blown out right now than have this shit going on. So, he was sitting there sweating it. And, it came down to Tyler Higbee, and the Rams just targeted him. I think podcast I listened to, Higbee has the most tight end targets on the season.
He's got 38 targets on the season, so he's averaging almost 10 targets a game.
Yeah, more than Andrews and Kelsey. So, that's a really good pickup on him having Higbee there. But yeah, I wish I would have been able to sit by both of them because, I mean, Ross had Kittle going, obviously. And Ross brought that up tonight. He goes, if Kittle wore like a size 8 shoe, it would have been a different game. So.
Yeah, he was dang close to that touchdown. I thought it ended it for him. And at first I thought Ross was dead, but then Mike Evans decided to go off for 26. And then Kittle couldn't close the door for him, and Higbee's just very consistent. And only thing Pooty really needs on this squad is to figure out that quarterback position because Derek Carr just isn't cutting it for him this year. But he's still got some time and some good players on his bench. So we'll see if Jacobs, maybe he starts him and he starts to help out his flex position. But he's got some potential. But with that, do we want to jump forward to next week's matchups, or what are you thinking, Bill?
Nope, I'm good, yeah. I know, yeah, we only kind of touched on
the one matchup
last week, so. Yeah, I've got Joel.
So the one matchup I had initially marked for was because I was interested with your matchup with Joel, mainly because it's a huge battle for Joel trying to get back to the playoff picture. And if he can knock you off, all of a sudden he's right into it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And, he's ever since Dak got hurt, he's been streamlining quarterbacks. He's trying to find the right combo there. He had Kirk for a little bit. But, yeah, right now I'm kickerless. I picked up Hines, hoping that he could be some trade bait or maybe move somebody else around, and then I could flex him in or something. But we'll see how my lineup looks come Thursday night. But obviously I'm going to need a kicker before it all is said and done. But, yeah, no, I mean, Joel's team.
Were you the one to offer Jared a trade right away once Jonathan Taylor was out?
Yes.
I figured as much. I was like, oh, he picked up Hines. He's going to definitely try to circle it. So I'm curious if Jared's going to – I know Jared's trying to work the trade talks. I'm not going to be with me this week, but I'm curious if you'll end up pulling the trigger on a deal this week.
We'll see. Talks may be ongoing. It's not going to be a Zach deal. There's going to be no live trade tonight. We're in talks. And then I was talking to Kyler on the golf course tonight. I have his handcuffs, so I'm wheeling and dealing right now. I'm trying to, figure out who wants to trade what and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, Joel's team on paper.
An unfair advantage, Schultz. We're really missing out on some of these kind of talks and all that stuff. I'd like to be a part of these, and Bill's getting the inside scoop after he's probably intentionally losing at golf because he's no good, really.
Good news.
Golf side talk for sure.
But if you look at Joel's team, it's solid all around. I mean, Fournette's going to get the ball how many times? I hope he breaks his leg so I can have Rashad White play, but that's for another day. But ever since, when he got Jeff Wilson, that was a huge pickup. We'll see down later in the year. Etney, he's kind of hit and miss on him or Robinson, but his team is solid on paper. I mean, Keenan Allen's back in the lineup now. Darren Waller, he hasn't been targeted as much ever since they got Devontae, but and then I guess Singletary, who knows who Buffalo's going to run or throw a million times, but and then he's got the best player in the league, and I don't have one.
And so the one thing I worry about with this squad is just I don't know if Keenan Allen's going to quite play yet, and then it's a question of who do you play between Judy or Romeo Dobbs or Lazard. So that's going to be an interesting situation. So maybe he'll try to just squeeze by until Allen comes back.
Yep. And then luckily
your squad. You pretty much got these four locked and loaded. It's pretty much just figuring out your flex, and then Kyle Pitts has been one of the biggest disappointments, I would say.
Now he has a hamstring injury. It's like, what the hell, dude? But Pitts can actually figure his shit out. That'd be great, but we'll see. And then I think it was Ross that dropped Burrow earlier in the year, maybe. I forget exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a huge pickup for me because the first week my quarterback was Matt Stafford. And you tried to trade me right away, Kirby. You tried to get me Trey Lance. Thank God I didn't do it, which I could have had Ertz instead of Pitts, and then you wouldn't have Andrews. So things could be a lot different in the league had I accepted that trade. But, having Burrow has been huge for me. He's just a solid guy you can put in there. And they throw a ball a ton because they have three great receivers. So.
And you're still waiting on DeAndre Hopkins to come back, so that'll be a cheat code once he comes back here in a couple weeks.
We'll see how much shit talk I do this week. Joel's in there. Zach always called me Valentino, so maybe I give him the Valentino treatment this week. But he comes at your throat when he wants to go for it, so I don't know if I'll do that or not.
And then the other matchup that we got to touch base on, Schultz, how are you feeling about your squad, man? This is obviously a big week for us going head-to-head. What are you thinking, man?
Yeah, buddy. I think So this is actually the lowest I've been projected, I think, of any of the first weeks. So
Yeah, both of your teams are
exactly why that is.
128 is disgusting.
Oh, my average is 138. They're lowballing me, but whatever.
Yeah, I think I've been high 120s every week except for this week. So I don't know what's going on there. But, if you look at my past scores, it's been honestly pretty close to what I'm projected. So I'm hoping your team takes a little shit this week.
Show the bench there, Curb.
Yep, I got you. This is where,
Who's your other
yeah,
receiver?
right now.
Yeah, you've got Mike Thomas, which he's solid. But your big thing is if St. Brown plays or not this week. That'll be big for you. Well, and big for Jared too, Sapp with Hawkinson, because obviously when St. Brown and Swift aren't playing, Hawkinson is their only guy they want to throw the football to. So,
like, I feel good betting on the Bills and the Chiefs. So,
having Josh Allen, Travis Kelce, and then hopefully McCaffrey doesn't show up to practice with a random injury like he did last week.
Yeah, he even said it. I don't know if you saw his interview. If he went in the locker room to take a piss, he'd be on the injury.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I did not hear that.
DK Metcalf gets carted off the field in mid-game.
Well, he actually did have to take a piss. So
he took a dump. He said the clincher Cheeks and Waddle wouldn't have worked on that one, so he had to get a ride. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, Kurt, let's look at your team a little bit here. I mean, it's loaded.
I'm feeling good about the squad. The fact that I was able to – so my whole thing is I like to bet horde running backs even if they're backups. So the fact that I was able to have Melvin Gordon when the starter got hurt, then I could flip him around for Najee, who I know is going to have a guaranteed role. I'm not sure if Melvin Gordon will. And so I just try to hoard running backs knowing that everyone wants them. And if injuries happen or something, you can always make deals. So we're happy with the squad right now.
Yeah, we even text about that, though. It's like, because I'm pretty comfortable with all my RBs, too. And, like, Schultz, obviously, you have 3 pretty good ones right there. And Michael Carter, he's a solid backup, especially if Breece Hall gets hurt. But, like, everyone's pretty loaded up on running backs this year. So it's kind of tough to find those.
It's definitely abnormal.
Yeah, Schultz.
But with that in mind, Bill Tino, that's kind of the big matches we want to touch base on this week. But with that, I think we need to at least dive into your power rankings. You can kind of give us some notes. So what do you all got for you, my man?
All right, well, I'm not going to go too in-depth like Zach did because then we'll be here till 10:45. So number 10 is Josh. He's 0-4. He's got a lot of injuries. And I mean, you just got to put him there. He hasn't scored over 100 yet this year. Put up a big 66 last week. So, he's sitting there. Then at 9, even though I like Kyler's team, he's 0-4. I'm going to put him there. He's going to be 9. Maybe a little bit of slight after the golf rankings, mad at him. But so I should have put him 10, actually. But he's 9. 8's Joel. Joel's just trying to find an identity on his team. I think he's got a solid makeup. But he's 1-3, and streaming quarterbacks is tough to do. So we'll see. Teddy Two Gloves is good, but he's at 8 right now. Hopefully I can beat him. We got 7 is Pooty. Same type of deal. Pootie's got Derek Carr as a starting quarterback. He's got to figure that out. Hopefully try to find somebody. I would probably be right down there with them had I not been able to get Joe Burrow. So cutting
you off there, hold on right there. Just quick comment on these. Any of these that surprised you, Schultz? Because there's one that surprised me, but
Josh maybe a little bit. I mean, at 10 at least.
Josh at 10, I saw. I was surprised that he had Foodie there and not Ross. So I'm curious where I'm assuming he has Ross coming in shortly, but Foodie's team, it's just a really matter of the question of the quarterback, but he's solid in other positions. So
correct.
Got a 6 spot.
But the tough thing is though, it's like, I don't know, you need a quarterback that gets you somewhere around 20. And I don't know if Derek Carr can do that. I mean, he's got Devontae and stuff. Well, and Renfro too, but
he's now got Jared Goff, so that's his quarterback now.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep, forgot about that. So yeah, I mean, we'll see if the Lions can keep scoring 35 and get them up 36. But like you said, the next guy is going to be Ross. So, yep, he's right there. I know Pooty just beat Ross, but I mean, like we said, Ross gets a couple, like a late touchdown or something. It is what it is. Coming at 5, I've got Jared. He's 3-1, but it's more one of those deals. I just hated that he traded away Mark Andrews. I think if you still have Mark Andrews, Jared might be at 3 or 2 right now. Because Mark Andrews is an animal. Good trade, Kirby. 4, I have myself. That's more just see, I'm not Zach. I'm not going to rate myself at like 11, even though there's not an 11th spot. I beat Jared head to head. I just put up 145. So, had I not played SAP, I'm sitting at 3-1, and I could arguably be closer to the top there. Any thoughts on those next 3? I saw Schultz shake your head right as I said me at 4.
No, I was shaking my head at the Mark Andrews trade because now I have to play him this week.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, and Jared always drafts well. And
I was about to say, I remember I talked to Ross afterwards. He actually thought that Jared got the better of me in that draft because at the time Waddle came off his career day. And so my thought was like, hey, Ertz, even after I trade him, Ertz has averaged 10 points a week every week. So he's still the number 4 tight end.
It wasn't trade rate by any means, but like, I just find it tough to trade like a top 3 tight end just because they are so hard to come by. But,
yep.
Ertz is, I think he's like tight end 5. So it wasn't a bad trade. And he's got Waddle. You might have tugged at his heartstrings a little bit there with him being a Dolphin, but it's a good offense.
I think the tough thing is if you look at Jared's wide receivers, you don't take away Waddle. His receivers are Christian Kirk, McLaurin, Thielen, Ayuk, Wilson, and Samuel. So not a very attractive group of wide receivers there.
Yeah. So no. Yeah, it was a good trade by him. I find it tough to trade away tight ends. Like, I don't want to get rid of Pitts, even though he sucks. Then 3 is Sap, even though he's got the most points. And then I've got Mr. Loaded at number 2. And then coming in at number 1 is Kirby. Now, obviously, next week, whoever wins that matchup will be my new number 1 or still number 1. So we'll see where that goes. But that's what my initial rankings look like. Kirby, you've done a lot to solidify your team of the trade. Schultz, you just always have a good draft and your team's always sitting pretty. And like you said, you let your team do the talking, obviously, by not responding much in chats and everything. But so, yeah, any arguments on that? Obviously, Schultz, you probably would like to be number 1, but I just think with the trade for Andrews and then like the depth that Kirby's bench has, I mean, even if somebody gets hurt on his team, he's got guys to fill in right away. So.
No, battle of the bigs this week. I love it. We're coming in number 2.
Yep.
In my notes, I had all the matchups.
Play like Vince Young, come out with the win.
Ooh, I like that.
Don't tug at my Titans heartstrings like that. I want to start cheering for you now, damn it.
I had all the matchups.
No, I had a tough time thinking who's number 2 between Sapp and Schultz. And I think the reason I lean Schultz is because he's 4-0, so he's got the 1 game advantage. But I also like the receiver depth that Schultz has compared to some of the depth that Sapp has. I'm not as crazy about his depth compared to Schultz's, so that's why I give him a slight lead.
I agree.
But both teams are good, and so good.
Yep, Sapp and I went wide receiver heavy, and you're right. It does take away because, like, even for me, I mean, until Hopkins is back, I really don't have a third wide receiver. I mean, Bateman's okay, but he hasn't been what I thought he was going to be. So it's like, yeah, once you go wide receiver heavy, it drops off quick for you. Where like Schultz has 4 studs on his bench or 4 playing that could play. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, for me, I could go to number 1 next week, or I could damn near go to 4 or 5. So,
well, I think the names on your team is what's going to keep you high up there. I mean, like we said, you have Allen, Kelsey, and McCaffrey. But that's always going to keep you within that top 4.
And McCaffrey hasn't had a breakout this year yet.
Yeah. How about that sneaky move of Stat picking up Chuba?
1 touchdown max.
I don't know if Stat's I saw the update. I went to ESPN to try to go pick him up, and it's like, holy shit, Seth, you're on top of your stuff. You already grabbed him. So
with that in mind, I really, right before we taped it, I went into Fantasy Pros and kind of did the same thing last year where it kind of does the composite rankings of everybody.
Yep.
So for the week 5 rankings, it has my team at the number 1 spot, and it's got Schultes tied for number 2 with you, Bilt, and Sap. So right now, our top 4 is actually right in line with what you had for at least this week's ranking.
Oh boy!
And then it had Foodie.
I might have overshot Ross going to that.
Look, down at 84. So the reason that they have him lower, they have the 7th quarterback, his running backs. So the big thing is Melvin Gordon. They have him as the second worst. They say they have the second worst RB1 at Jamal Williams and RB2 in Melvin Gordon. So
yeah,
a little interesting to see how that'll work. But yeah, seeing Ross down that low was a little eye-opening.
No, I
But
agree.
if we adjust this quickly to instead what they have for the rest of season rankings, it actually has built you in the 2nd spot with Schultes sitting at number 3. And I don't know how, but it actually gave my team a perfect 100. So literally ran this right before, and I'm just like, oh shit, that doesn't suck.
So that means
But it
like
also gave Josh a 47.
Every position.
So it means, like, I think just my overall score. It says I have the number 3 QB1, the best RB1, the best RB2, number 5 wide receiver 1. Kind of keeps going down the line there.
Yeah. Huh. Nice.
But then when we look at last place, we have Josh. And this is where I guess I don't know if I necessarily agree that he has the worst wide receiver 1. So there's got to be some flaws with this because Debo's a stud, I would say.
Yeah, Debo's should be higher than that.
Probably matters where you play him. So if you play
I like Dawson Knox too.
Dawson Knox, I'm not as big a fan on, but that's just me. So with that in mind, who knows? Maybe we'll touch base on this other weeks, but these are the kind of things. If you want a quick peek on Warriors looks at, here's Schultes. And like we said, the big ones that he's got is Kelsey, McCaffrey, and Josh Allen, and that he just needs to be average at all the other positions, and he's still a stud. And then Bill Tino, you have the elite wide receivers right there. So that's where your team's strongest. Chubb, they have as the 4th ranked running back rest of the season. So and they don't have the other kicker, so you might get more points if you have the kicker.
Don't need a kicker.
With that in mind, but with that in mind, the last thing I got to ask, Bill, was you were a little bit late today because you had the golf outing. How did it all go? Did you beat Sapp on his home course? And I also have to ask, how'd you do against Luddy? Because I'm sure you bet against him. What was the bet and how did that go?
Correct. So ever since I got that 2 ranking, obviously we've been talking shit in the group chats. So Sapp and Kyler whispered their strokes, like what Kyler was going to give Sapp, so that I couldn't hear it. So I couldn't be like, oh, Luddy, you're giving Sapp 7.5 strokes. I get 7.5 too. So with that being said, Kyler shot 1 under, and I asked for 2.5, and I shot 2 over. So he took money off of me. And Sapp
1 under, damn.
Yep. And then Sapp. See that W? That's for me. Oh, wrong way.
Wrong way, buddy.
Yep. Sapp shot 6 over tonight. So Sapp actually got 7.5 from Kyler. So he beat Kyler. Like with that. But yeah, so through 2 weeks. Last week I beat Sapp by 7. This week I beat him by 4. Just good to know. Sapp made the comment. He's like, Bill, you're my Luddy. You're my kryptonite. I just can't beat you. But we're talking about maybe playing the club next week, so we'll see if he can get me out there, which who knows. But it's good to know that what I thought was true, that I am the number 2 golfer. But I don't. If he would have beat me, I would have never heard the end of it. Like you guys would have got text right away. So,
oh yeah.
But yeah. Then Josh played solid tonight, and then Ross actually played really well. He birdied the first hole and birdied the last hole. I don't know really what he did in between, but he had a really good drive on 5 too. So there's talks that Ross might be moving up the rankings.
Ooh, I don't know if I like that because I thought I was one spot
yeah,
ahead
he's
of
right
him.
behind
So
you. That's what we were talking about. And Ross said, he's like, I think Kirby's about the only one I could get. He goes, I don't think I could get to Pooty or Sap or Built. So he's like, I think 5 is about as high as he would end up, is what he said. So,
well,
but
shit, Bill, you'll be able to see my game firsthand next week at the Luddy Classic.
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, forgot. Yeah, you're playing first
There
year.
we go, babe.
Yeah, there's
First year trying it out. So I
Yeah.
think I'm on the other team. I'm not on your team. So we'll see how it goes. But yep, for sure. But with that in mind, I think that wraps it up for our second YarskCap podcast of the year. Schultes, appreciate you joining, man. Happy, love the energy with the beautiful football helmet. Bill Tito's, congrats on the W. But with that in mind, any last words, Schultes, that you got for everybody?
Got a lot of good matchups this week. Love to see it. Curb fighting for
Bring
all
it on.
against you, so it's going to be huge. Love.
This is it.
All right. Yep.
This is potentially for the bye. But Bill, any last words before we head out?
Nope, we kept it under an hour, and I think that's the main goal of this, just so that guys don't have to sit here and hear us ramble on. So I think we did good.
Beautiful, beautiful. With that in mind, the heavyweight matchup for me and Schultes begins. The leg up for the first round bye in the Natty division. I checked. Our last matchup is actually last week of the year, so we could be starting a little rivalry. But with that in mind, everybody, have a good one. We'll see y'all later.
Yep. See you, boys. Have a good one.